How freaking cool was that? Man, I love this new update to Final Cut 10.4.4. Greetings folks, my name is Jason McNamara from Jason Video Music Tokyo, hence I am Jason. I film and edit videos, I am a musician, and I live here in Tokyo, Japan. Right off the bat, I will ask you, please subscribe to my channel, because without subscribers and likes and so on and so forth, we all content creators, we know we need to support each other, that's all there is to it. But on my channel there is a bunch of videos that I've done, and if you're particularly interested in multi-camera editing, that's one of my really strong suits in my work. I'm going to go through with you a little bit of my work process that I do and how I bought this video to look the way that it does now. So here's a view of my screen. Now I'm going to get rid of the browser. I'm going to take away the inspector for now. There is Paul the singer. By the way, the band is Contrived from Melbourne, Australia. This is the second video I've done for these guys. First one I filmed, but the last one I just edited. I was here in Japan while they filmed in Melbourne. Twin brothers. So Andrew is the drummer, Paul is the vocalist, guitar player. So when I speak about them, you'll know what we're looking at. So here's Paul standing here in his suit. Let's go through and take away the layers here so that you can see exactly what's in there. Now I've got a gradient mask. The visual echo I accidentally took off a moment ago, but we'll get back to that in a second. There's a color board that I'll remove. There is the comic basic that I chose that I'll remove. And there is also the keyer. So there is the keyer taking away the green screen that we shot on. You can see a couple of the pins up here that are holding in the green screen are just there in shot, hence why I used the gradient mask to take that out. It was just quick and easy to do it that way. The first thing originally was the keyer. So there's the keyer to take away the green screen. Now for those of you who don't normally use a keyer or don't normally do green screen, would like to but don't know what to do, there's a keyer built into Final Cut Pro. Very cool to have. Then I applied the basic comic to get the original look. So here, as you can see in the settings, the original space where the setting was straight out of the box, so to speak, is at the beginning of the blue line. So if I take the smoothness up, you can see right there that it starts creating a blue line. Hence, that's the difference between the black and the blue versions, or the grey for that matter. So let's put on the effect of the comic basic. Now, as you can see, there's a lot of information that got lost right there, even after me tweaking it and doing what I did. So there's the original tweaks. If we reset all the parameters there's the original version. I personally went through and changed things with the polarizing levels, which is a really important one because you can get so much out of the polarizing levels. The ink the ink fill as well. There's the difference with the ink fill, just to bring in certain details, and it's going to be different from shot to shot. You can see on the shirt collar here as well, it changes things. And then there is the edge inks brought back. The fake moustache that Paul has here, there was nothing I could really do about that. I tried to get rid of it, but just with the angle of his face, much like I've got some lines on my face with my light here on me. Then we'll bring on the really important part that brought everything back to life, is the color board. Without the color board, too much detail gets lost. So let's just turn on the color board so you can see what it eventually became. There's a whole lot of information that just got added into the shot. So let's go through. Up here we can select, there's the inspector, and inside of the inspector there is the color board. So let's start with the exposure. You can see here that I brought the midtones up to a value of 52 and I brought the highlights up to a value of 55. Reason for that: if we reset them back down to nothing, let's put the midtones to a value of 0. So much information just disappeared, and now it's brought back. And then with the highlights, if we go down to 0, that really brings back that little bit of extra shine on the end of everything. With the saturation, if I reset the saturation, so the shadows I've currently got at 71, set them down to 0, and bring the highlights down to 0 from 55, you can see there that things changed a lot. Let's get rid of this here, get rid of this here. Okay, so the saturation was what I believe I actually started with originally. So if I bring that up to 71, you can see right there it's bringing back a whole lot more color into Paul's face. Then I go through here, bring that back to the original 55 that I had, and you can see right there that brings that extra color as well. I'm quite happy with the look of it now as it sits in mix with everything else. And you've got to remember here that when you're doing multiple angles and things, the drums looked completely different. The Paul singing on his own, once again, looked very different to the shots that I had of Paul with his guitar and just the straight up guitar shot too. So you will need to go through and do every individual angle. Problem with that is that once you get through here and you go through all these individual angles down the bottom, it can get quite time consuming to go and do every single one. My love of Final Cut is using multi-camera editing. So I'll double click here and show you what I did with my original timeline of the multi-camera. There is the original batch of files without anything on them. So there is the 10 shots that I currently have sitting here, different drum angles, different vocal shots and so on, along with the audio track as well. So if we have a look here at any of these tracks, there they are originally, and once I've set them all up and I've synced them, be wary, Final Cut does have an automatic sync. I'm not a huge fan of it because it doesn't always work. Sometimes you'll find things down here at the beginning of your timeline and other shots that should be there right up the end of your timeline, and it does some screwy things sometimes. So a majority of the time I personally place each individual camera angle into spot. If you're using something like a GoPro in a live situation, GoPro does a continuous thing where it will go from one file at the end of 4 gig to the next file at 4 gig and the next file at 4 gig. Once you've got one of them placed right, as long as you're careful with where you place it on your timeline, you've got to zoom in and place it correctly, you can find that it will go seamlessly from one to the next, to the next, to the next. So really cool thing. I'll actually do a tuition sometime on doing multi-camera setups. That's a big thing that I love doing. So that you understand, with me, when I do a live concert video, I'll quite often have anywhere from maybe 12 cameras going at one time to up to, I've done maybe 32 cameras running at the same time. I've got a video coming out shortly for a singer from Brazil called Edu Falashi. With their video, I've got 25 camera angles live running on the show at the same time. I'm very excited when that video comes out soon. Live concert video, Edu Falashi. Song is called The Glory of the Sacred Truth. Very cool. So let's get back into our timeline here that looks quite clean because there's stuff in the background for the multi-camera edits. We'll bring back our viewer and we'll bring back our inspector so that you can see what's going on here. Let's go into a look at the visual echo here and why I use that. The idea of that was to try and get a bit of motion blur. If you want to find the visual echo, here's where it is. If you go down into your effects browser, there are two ways to find it. One, you can go through with all the videos there and type in visual echo, or just visual for that matter, and it pops up right there. I personally like to know where things are, not just so I can say I know everything, but so I can then find things by accident along the way sometimes, which is a very exciting thing to do. Or the place for the original position of it is if you scroll down here to tiling, you'll find there is visual echo right there. Now I'm going to show you what it does and why I used it. For the visual echo, I've set up 3 different versions of the same clip so that you can see a difference. The original preset, when you first put it onto your timeline, is set at a value of 80, which is way out of control. Here's what that looks like. Now, as you can see there at the very final shot, the way that his hand is just going crazy. If I go back a few frames here, while his hand is moving, it gets way out of control. Let's go to the version with no visual echo whatsoever, and even we'll just jump to the end here, and as you can see, when he's moving, there's nothing there. And it does look a little bit sterile to me. Now to the version that I actually used in the video, and you can see here I brought the amount all the way down to a value of 2. It just gives it enough shadowing to when it's playing through to give you that feel of motion blur. Particularly when you have a look at the shots here when he's moving his hand, you can see that there's just that little bit of shadow there, and it just helps to bring it. Particularly I liked it in the picking hand, so this time have a look at the picking hand here when I play it through. Just has a good look to me. Now when it came to the drums, different subjects, different angles, different things that you're doing within your frame, everything's going to change, so you should do your effects individually. Some things will be the same, some things won't be the same. The coloring particularly is going to change a lot. Here is what I did with the drums. Now we shot the drums from behind, we shot the drums from the front, we shot the drums from the ride cymbal side, we shot the drums from the hi-hat side, basically left and right for that matter, for those of you who don't know anything about drums. And it changed everything. So here's what I did with the drums. Let's strip back once again everything that's in there and back to the original shot. Let's start by rebuilding it like what we did before. Let's start with the draw mask on this particular shot, just to show you the difference of what that looks like so you can see it in an obvious fashion. Next, we'll return the keyer back on, get rid of the green screen, and that's what we're left with as the original shot. Let's bring on the comic book effect, which is what I was actually hoping to do. I had discussed this with the guys a week or two ago, and then sure enough, in the new update of Final Cut, there it was. Thank you very much, Apple, for doing that one. So let's bring on the effect there of the comic book, and let's do what we did with the guitars. Let's reset all the parameters here so that you can see the difference between what there was and what there is. And now let's put them all back on again. And of course, I went through that systematically and found what worked for me, and you need to do the same thing yourself. And once again, there's the original values at the start of the blue line versus the grey lines. Of course, the all-important thing to bring it back to life was the color board. Now, something I didn't show you on the guitar shot that I'll show you now is here, without the comic, is the color board of what it would have done to the original footage, and completely destroys original footage. That looks terrible. But here's the funny thing, when you do it with the comic book and you fix the color board, there it is back to life. If you'd like to see the first video that I did for Contrived, the song is called What's Mine. If you go to this original video, whether you're seeing it on Facebook, jump into YouTube, there'll be a link down below in the YouTube description to be able to see that first video. Incidentally, on that video, I used a LUT package from a company called Core Melt. That particular package is called Chromatic, and it's very, very, very good. This thing comes with 150 LUTs when you buy the whole thing, and they're very, very, very customizable, and they actually built that for the Final Cut platform exclusively. It's very worthwhile to check out. Now, what you're seeing here, this is not a final product video. This is just one step in what's going to eventually become this music video. So once again, please like this video, please subscribe. Now to finish up, I'm going to give you a look at just this portion of the music video and what I've done with it so far. I'll give you a grade through so you can see the with and the without and so on, and just a little bit of messing around to enjoy the content. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope that I will see you again soon on my channel.